It's the All Birdies, No Bogeys podcast, your weekly disc golf analysis podcast right here on JomezPro and anywhere else you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Brian Earhart. I am in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they faked us out last weekend with the winter storm warning. This weekend, 14 inches of snow in a single day. I am essentially snowed into my house. My roads have not been plowed. My driveway slopes towards my house. It's been a real interesting fiasco, keeping my house warm. Interesting day for me. Nate, my co-host, is in Oregon. Are you safe from the winter storms?
I'm looking out at 60 degrees, blue skies, sunny. It's kind of weird, honestly. The lack of snow is pretty concerning for the industry around here, right? There's a couple ski mountains. Mount Hoodoo is 30 minutes to my west, and then Mount Bachelor is the big one near Bend, and both of them have been struggling big time. I mean, you've got to follow the groomers to get any kind of snow. So it's just weird times, you know? And when you mentioned the snow at your house, the first thing I thought of was your driveway. So what do? Are you just parking on the street, or are your cars like trying to slide toward your garage, or what's going on?
My car is fine. I mean, I'm in the driveway. I use the garage more for like working out, tech disc, storage. We don't really park a car in there. We probably should at some point, but it is pretty heavily sloped towards the garage. So my Mazda's not going to get out for some time. We parked Lindsay's car up top by the mailbox, so she's fine. I just dug out a pretty decent lane from her car to the road. But yesterday, I mean, when everything was coming down, I saw a truck not even be able to get up the hill to get to a flat spot on our road. So there was like 100-car pileup in the middle of the freeway on I-85. Yeah, so we've been instructed to stay home for the time being. And I'm finding out a lot of stuff about living in a warmer climate. I'm from the Chicago area, and this city is just not prepped for this kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, my next door neighbor
don't have the plowers and the salt.
Yeah, my next door neighbor said they haven't seen snow like this in 20 years. I asked to borrow a shovel, and he gave me like a garden shovel. That's all he had. So yeah, interesting stuff. The HVAC systems are only really rated to do about 40 degrees either way, to heat or cool. So our house is struggling to heat up right now. Interesting times, man.
Shoot.
But I'm grateful beyond belief to be here, working the job that I have, being able to do it from home a lot of the time. And obviously travel has not started happening yet for me. I still don't know what tournaments I'm going to be on course for or in the booth. I think we have a general idea. But yeah, so that's the scoop right now. But Nate, we got Silas Schultz coming on the show. I'm excited. Off-season episodes are pretty much done. We had fun experimenting, but now we're going to start to talk to these players that are starting to ramp up and kind of take on this new disc golf landscape. The COVID boom is done. The great leveling of the industry has started happening, and I believe we're going to start to see some rise a little bit. And I think we're going to see some really interesting things happen in 2026. So Silas is going to be the first of the players we start to bring on the show. What are your thoughts on him as a player and a media presence, and who he is out there on tour?
Man, trying to recall, first time I saw Silas throw was probably 2019 Ledgestone, and just one of those guys that you wonder how they got it so smooth, right? It's like first time I really watched Kyle Klein throw. I'm like, okay, we have this like Paul McBeth, Simon Lizotte hybrid mimic, all of a sudden perfectly, just like a rubber band whipping on the disc, and Silas is just so smooth with the footwork, and was hitting 70-mile-per-hour shots, throwing these really nasty, like really downward tilted hyzer flips with these FDs. And I was with Discmania. I can't remember the first year that he joined, but I felt like I was with Discmania maybe a few years prior to him joining. I remember giving him a few discs, actually giving him some night strikes, but always just being impressed with his natural ability. And then I learned a little bit about his, he comes from a disc golf family, like him and his brother. I think I met his brother first. Is it Thunder Schultz, before. and turns out they both been playing since they were little kids. So it kind of makes sense how it seems so natural to him. But then I've been following his career ever since, and always just really impressed with. Again, he wasn't coached in media, right? It was just over time he learned that people like it when you put some flair on the videos, and then he quickly rose to the media powerhouse that he is now. So he, as you have mentioned, Brian, is just a prime example of what it really takes to be a disc golfer in this modern era, right? You have to be both. You have to be a content creator and you have to, be a golfer. So Silas is that. I'm excited to kind of talk to him about his shift to from Discmania to MVP and see how that's going. So let's get into it.
Yeah, I mean, 34th on tour last year, 2 spots out of the tour championship. And I still
Okay.
think he has so much room to grow. Like you said, very natural thrower. He's been playing since he
Yeah.
was young. And yeah, speed is there. We saw some beautiful touch at that Champions Cup, which was a really interesting week for you and I as well. I remember you had to kind of come in last minute and do Tournament Central with me and play the tournament itself.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah,
whole
that was
week, it was
fun.
Silas Schultz. He was the guy that we talked about pretty much the whole time. It felt like it was his tournament to win, but then Isaac Robinson had other plans. But 22 years old, and like you said, kind of matching what you kind of have to be to keep it going in this modern landscape of disc golf, which I don't think is a terrible thing. I think in general, a personal brand is a big deal. You have to sell yourself in a way. You have to convince people to buy your Tour Series disc, convince people to follow you at tournaments and want to support you. And you know what? Kudos to him. I'm excited to hear about MVP. But you know what? I'm not going to keep talking about this. Let's bring Silas in now. Silas Schultz of Team MVP joins us leading into the 2026 season. Silas, first time on the show. So happy to have you here. How are you, buddy?
Dude, I'm doing great. I'm super excited for my first time on the show.
Well, you were on Brody Smith's show, and the title of the show was, it said something about your shocking move to MVP, something along the lines of that. I'm going to just kick this off right away. We're going to talk about life, disc golf. Obviously, we want to get the elephant in the room addressed. Was it a shocking move for you? Was this whole process that much of a surprise that MVP worked out so well?
I will say it was shocking, might be a little extreme, but it was a surprising move. I mean, I was at a place where, I wanted to be at Discmania for my career. That was kind of my thought. My personality is that of where like if I find something I like, I'm locked in. Like I'm good there. I'm parked outside of a coffee shop that I attend every day. Once I'm done with this, I'm gonna go edit some stuff in there. So like it's not the closest coffee shop to my house. I drive past other ones with better coffee, but this is my favorite one. So I come here every time. So I think that's kind of in my nature that I just find something I like and I stick with it. I think if I was to move, MVP obviously has been a joy to work with and has been a great fit for me thus far. And but I don't think I would have. I don't know if I would have. Maybe our brands don't fit super cohesively, is maybe what he was saying. Um, I think I have they're very science, and I'm very probably whatever the other
Like
end of.
creative?
Sure, yeah. So I think maybe that could be the shocking part, but I would say any move would be a little surprising, and this one is maybe a little extra just because of the identities of the company in mind. But I think I'm excited to see how those things work together and coincide.
Well, I want to jump back. We were just talking before the camera started rolling. Uh, 2023 was a wacky week for me, you, and Perkins, all
Yeah.
all different reasons. But you had one of the best performances, if not the best performance of your career so far at the Champions Cup at Jackson. Uh, Take us back to 2023. Take us back to what life was like, and what were you dreaming about as a young, creative disc golfer trying to figure out what he wanted to do in disc golf?
Yeah, I would say it like thinking about Champions Cup in 2023, it was kind of like that week was a pretty magical week. And it felt kind of normal, but looking back, like it was not really that. At the time, I was young. I'm still young, but I was what? I was probably 20.
Younger.
I was 19 or 20 probably. I think I was 20. And I was playing my favorite course in the world. Like I played WR Jackson when I was 14 for the first time, and it had changed obviously since then, at Champions Cup. But like the moment I holed out when I was 14 years old on hole one of WR Jackson, I said, this is my favorite course I've ever played. I'd never played. I grew up in the South in Louisiana, playing in Mississippi and Alabama. We get a lot of woods golf down here. I'd never played woods golf with fairways like that. And I was like, this is my dream. Because I throw far and I threw far at the time. And I was like, this is like, I get to unload a little bit and I have room to work with. And it was just like magical. So, like, I think that was an amazing part of it. Mentally, kind of in that time, I was just like on tour, living my best life. Disc golf had not become a point of anxiety at all in my life. It was just fun. And I think I was kind of in a headspace where I was friends with Gannon. I was staying with him that week, and I had seen some of my friends get wins, and I thought, this is just something that's going to happen for me one day. And I'm just going to keep playing, and I'm going to have my week, and I'm going to win. And that week was like, oh yeah, this is kind of that. Before it even started, I was playing a practice round by myself because Gannon was on the Jomez practice round, and I was playing ahead of them, I think. And it was 8 or 9 in the morning. There was like a foggy mist over the course. It's like 60 degrees. I'm playing it by myself. I'm lacing every gap and I'm making every circle too. And I have the conscious thought of, if I do this in the tournament, which we've all had those practice rounds, but I never translated that completely, but I said, if I do this in the tournament, I don't know who could really beat me because I'm not birdieing. And little did I know, I mean, Isaac Robinson was kind of on the same type of time at that point. He had a great week, you know what I mean? So I wasn't practicing with him. Maybe I would have been a little bit more realistic, but that was kind of like the lead up to it. Was just like I was just living the dream, playing my favorite course, and I was kind of on one that whole week.
Well, that translated extremely well for that tournament. I'm glad Brian brought this up because, I followed a bit of your tournament. I was working with DGN, and I remember specifically the freedom that you were feeling on the putting green, and you were cracking C2 putts that we hadn't really ever seen you make. And then I remember a shot on, I think it's the 10th, that turnover. You were like 8 down through the front, and then you nearly ace the 10th. You hit the band on that turnover. I think you were throwing an FD on that turnover line, which you were throwing that FD quite a bit out there. And I want to ask you, Silas. So I've obviously been following your career pretty close for really the entirety of it. I think I met you 7 years ago now at a Ledgestone, maybe in 2019, but. Your 1031, I'm guessing that's the highest rating of your career, but your career earnings right now, Silas, $66,000. But the important thing for me is the earnings that you added this year. Going into the year, you were at 45,000 career, and you added 21 to that this year. So to me, while that doesn't sound like a lot to some people, if you're cashing for 21,000, you're playing some really high level disc golf somewhat often out there on the Disc Golf Pro Tour to be cashing for 21K. So I want you to kind of compare the golfer that you were in 23 at the Champions Cup. You tied a course record, which is still relevant. It was a 12 down, tied by the champion Isaac Robinson that week, 1070 golf at the major. So you showed us there that you're capable of major championship golf. And then this year you get a couple top tens. You get fifth at the Preserve. Is that right? Was that your biggest cash? And then seventh at Ledgestone. Compare the golfer from 23 at Champions Cup to the golfer that was able to bring home 21 in cash this year on the Pro Tour.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, I kind of touched on it a little bit, but like the golfer in 2023, man, he was a kid who loved Frisbee. And like, I've been playing disc golf since I was 6. It's been, something that I've kind of always remember doing, always see myself doing. And like I was just really stoked and on the road and in a great spot. And the golfer back then was completely fearless. Like no stress, no worry, no anxiety, just like ripping fairway drivers down those fairways, ripping. And then also on the putting green, like had pretty much zero fear. Like I was just in a place where, especially that week, I was just comfortable and just loving the game. And that course was extra easy for me to do that because I genuinely love and adore every tee shot on that course. So no matter what had happened on the course, the whole previous, I walked to this next tee box just excited to rip another shot. And I don't think like there's the courses on tour are not built for that to give you that feeling, you know? They're built to give you kind of the opposite feeling of
Stress.
like,
Yep.
let's see, how do I, and that's a great feeling as well. You know what I mean? Of like precision and accuracy and focus. Then I was just like, I'm just happy to be throwing this tee shot, and I was just loving it. But that disc golfer had also not been through a whole lot, maybe in his life or in his game. And then after that, like a couple, I think maybe even from that week, I played JomezPro the next week, and had sprained my knuckle on my middle finger of my right hand, and we just played in a lot of pain the next week. I feel like it might be from just ripping fairway drivers over and over and over again. I don't know. That's the only thing I could think of. And then like went home, didn't throw, came back. My form was different, worked through that. Didn't see the success that I had, seen at fourth at a major. And kind of had this weird, some spiraling in my career, trying to get my feet again, and find like a love for the game when it's, became a point of anxiety and stress, you know what I mean? Being on the course, went through some putting, um, a putting journey, I guess, that I think
Yep.
everyone is always going through a putting journey. So I went through some valleys in my putting journey. And then I think the difference in the player I am now is I think I'm a much better game planner than I was then. Back then, though, I was a lethal. I was a lethal threat off of the tee, especially on a righty backhand. Like I was, and I still am this way, but like I was a technician, especially kind of that event specifically. Um, and you can bypass game planning by just high level execution of bad shots. And so I think I was getting away with a lot of that back then, that I understand that didn't last because you can only perform the highest level shots over. Like it's just not sustainable. And so I think I'm a much better golfer now, um, in that regard. And I also, on being on the other side of some putting woes, um, I'm a much like smarter golfer, and and I think I just like am more mature, maybe is what I'm saying as a player and probably and as a person too. But I think, yeah, that would be my overall. Well, this is what I was gonna say. I think for a time I was trying to get back to that, like I want to get back to that place, and then I realized like it's not how it works. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like
Gotta
an NBA team
evolve.
they don't win a championship and then show up with their same roster. You know what I mean? You have to adjust to win again, and to see success. And so I think instead of trying to get to a place where I was, I just tried to progress from the place I was at, and that was also kind of a key, kind of pivotal spot for me, I guess.
I want you to dive in a little bit more on the topic of going on tour, committing everything to disc golf, and then for some reason the anxiety creeps in there. It feels like on the outside, that should be the moment in life where everything is carefree and fun and
Right.
happy go lucky. Talk to us about your experience with that, taking it from something where there are no expectations to then a place where there's a lot of expectations.
Yeah, I mean, I think expectations are the key in that, right? So like I think when I showed up on tour initially and had no success, there's like this, I don't have, maybe I have expectations, but the stress there came from like, I need to perform well to prove that this is a place that I can continue to be or a place I want to be. Like my first year on tour was horrible. Like the year was horrible. The golf was horrible. Uh, it was just it was a rough stretch. And I said, if I don't see some light at the end of this tunnel, I'm not doing this again. And just because like I wasn't having fun, I wasn't enjoying it. It was stressful, and like there was a lot of external situations that were kind of coming into the golf. But it was like, yeah, I need to see a good performance. And then I had the opportunity. I was supposed to go home after Worlds, the World Championships. My family was there. I was going to drive back with them, and then I was going to be done. And so unless I like top 10 at Worlds, I was like, this might not be it. I might not do this anymore. And then OTB gave me an opportunity to be on a skins match or go throw now. And I was like, well, if I play that, which was a dream of mine, if I play that, then I'll play Rochester and or not Rochester. It was the one in Pittsburgh, this Silver Series there. And if I play that, then I'll play Green Mountain. And my goals were like get my USDGC spot, win the OTB skins, and have a performance where I felt like it was worth doing this again. And I won the skins. And then at Green Mountain, I got 14th. And if I would have made all my C1s, which I think I missed like 6 or something, maybe it was more, 7, I would have tied Rick for the win. And I got my USDGC spot that week. And I was like, okay, I could actually do something. I just have to get better. And this was the light that I needed. So that's what kind of kept me on tour. So there's like a lot of pressure, though, leading up to that of like, can I even continue to do that? Or like, yeah, like, is it even worth it to me? You know what I mean? To continue. And then after you see success, I get 4th at a major as a stroke off a second. I mostly didn't get second because I was running some putts trying to win. You know what I mean? And I'm on coverage and I get to feel what it's like on a lead card, and I get to feel what it's like playing the best golf of anybody that day, you know? And then you get hurt and you're not quite in that form. And then it's just like, everything feels worse after that. You know what I mean? Like nothing feels good. It's like, I don't want to fight for cash. I want to fight for the win, you know? And so then that kind of causes some rabbit holes that you don't need to go down. So I think those are all things like the expectations were, I mean, that can suffocate you. I think what helped me was I had my game was in a low spot, and I'd posted about it, not looking for a pity. I was just I think I did super bad at what is Idlewild one year, and I posted this edit that says "Ain't one like me." That was the edit, and it's sick. It's pinned on my Instagram if y'all want to watch it. It's one of my smoothest edits. The transitions in that are unbelievable. And I posted, and I was like, "This is not saying like nobody out here can get 70th, but it's more saying that like I just got 70th, and all y'all remember is this dope reel I made. That's what makes me different." You know what I mean? And so. But I posted that, and Yuli reached out to me, and we had some meetings, and we kind of talked through some stuff, and I was reading some books and stuff and got some help. But one of the things he asked me, he's like, do you expect to cash? And I was like, I mean, yeah. And he was like, why? Does everybody cash at all the tournaments? And I was like, no. He's like, do you always cash? No. He's like, well, when you cash, do you feel good about it? And I'm like, nah, I mean, he's like, no, because you expected to cash, so then you cash, and you didn't get anything from it. And you didn't cash, and then how do you feel? I'm like, I feel like a failure. And he's like, exactly. So like once like I went into last season with just completely curbing all of those expectations and just focused on the work. Like I'm gonna put in my work, I'm gonna game plan, I'm gonna prep, I'm gonna get better, I'm gonna read these books, and it's gonna be a slow progression. But those are the things I'm focusing on, not the results. All that I can control is my preparation and the effort that I give to it. So once I just started putting that focus forward, I cashed barely at Supreme Flight. I missed cash at Waco. My response was like, I'm not going to cash at all of them. It's okay. And I went on and just kept cashing, and those are the things that kind of like freed me up from that. But the expectations of just like, I need to perform to stay here, or, I need to get back to where I was. Those are things that can really weigh you down, I think.
Disc golf is so funny because unlike a sport like, and this is not perfect, but like weightlifting or running, if you train more than the other person and you're more physically talented than them, a lot of the times you're going to beat them. In
Right.
disc golf, it does not matter at all. You could come off a tournament and be like, I don't want to practice this week, and then win the next tournament because you didn't practice that week. Somebody
Yeah.
else who does field work every day might not win the tournament because they might expect to be outplaying these people and then they fail. I feel like I resonate with what you said because I had a moment on tour. Again, I didn't tour for very long, just 4 seasons, but my first year on tour, I could throw pretty far before I got super injured. And I remember feeling like I am outplaying people. I remember telling myself, like, what the heck? I'm outplaying this guy. And it's like, no, you're not. Like, the scorecard says you're not outplaying them
Right.
at all. But what I was thinking in my head was, my throw looks prettier than that person's.
Mm-hmm.
My form looks a little bit better. My forehand is more flashy than that person's forehand.
Yeah.
And it's like, our sport is so much different than that. And as much as I wish it was just freestyle, I wish freestyle was the coolest sport in
Yeah.
disc sports because then flashiest wins. But yeah, it's a weird game, man, and expectations are so strange. I'd love to ask kind of how you are now. Do you feel like you're feeling good going into 26? Do you feel like you've put the work in and life is pretty good for you?
Yeah, I'm like 50-50, excited, feel good, and stressed out right now. I spent a lot of this off season doing more like physical training, like working out and running. Um, and I'm excited. Like the way I kind of look at it is like, I'm building kind of step by step, but like I had the mentality of I'll just get a win at some point. And then I remember when AB showed up and like, remember when he just like won everything for like 2 months?
Yep. Yep.
I was like, oh no, like I'm not going to beat him on accident,
Yeah.
And like hanging out with Gannon a lot, it's like, yeah, I'm not going to like accidentally get a win. I'm not just going to like have a week. Like AB's, possibly more talented than I am, right? That's not a crazy thing to say. And he obviously put in more work than me and now he's winning. So like it's not just gonna fall in my lap, like I thought. And so one of my, I guess just theories and one of the things that was motivating me to like just get physically stronger because his forerunner's always at the course. He gets the early rounds in, he gets later rounds in. It's like I'm to get an edge on some of these guys, I might just have to run more laps, on the course. And to do that, I might have to be stronger. You know what I mean? So like those are kind of the focus there. So in that regard, I'm proud of the work I put in this offseason and like I'm excited to get out and get some laps in. The other side is like I'm feeling very intimidated by the amount of work I have to do with my bag at the moment. Switching sponsors. It's not something I ever have dealt with. I'm also, like I said at the beginning, find something I like it. My discs were in my bag for years. You know what I mean? I
Right.
still bagged that FD from Champions Cup, the yellow one that I
Wow.
chained out for Ace with. So, so like, yeah, it's gonna be more of a process this week. I'm gonna go very aggressively hard and learning everything and figuring out what works, and then I'm gonna play the Tallahassee Open, and who knows what's gonna happen there.
That a
And
couple
then
weeks.
yeah, and then I'll take a week off. Well, not a week off, but I'll have a week in between and practice, and then I'll play Supreme Flight, and we'll see what happens. So I'm stoked for the change. I love throwing all the new discs, but my bag and stacks and all this disc came in like 2 days ago of like the full
Wow.
stuff. So I had some,
Wow.
that I was practicing with, but it's getting tight. So talking about like no expectations, that is kind of forefront right now, where it's like the goal is not like performance based, which it never really is, but it's more like, did I get better with my discs? You know what I mean? Did I know my disc more? Did I still make wise decisions? Was I disciplined in my thoughts and in my actions on the course? Those kind of things. Those are going to be more of the wins for me. And there's a chance for sure that I just go and win this stacked A tier in Tallahassee. But there's also a chance, I do not play my best golf, and that's
Yep.
fine. You know what I mean? So it's going to be, I'm kind of bracing for the learning curve, but also, trying to be diligent in the work that I put in, I guess, if that makes sense.
Well, I kind of want to dive into the specifics of like your bag. Like, let's start, I guess, let's just go drivers down, Silas. Like, what was your driver slot, and what do you think is going to be the replacement for MVP with MVP?
Yeah. So I mean, I used to always think like people wanted my in the bag so bad, and I was like, you guys could just guess. Like, like I threw PD2s and DD3s, um, and so just looking at those, I've gotten some mayhems that are cool. I don't know if you guys saw
So
Eagles'
May is
music video.
Mayhem more like PD2, like overstable and kind of
More
glideless, or is it going to be
DD3. I think
okay?
more
It's
DD3.
be
Yeah,
pretty glidey. Yeah.
yeah. And then Eagles engine that he made the music video about. I just got my hands on some of those. Those are
Hmm.
fire. They're
So
kind of
12
right.
speed overstable.
I think it's 13 and it's pretty neutral. Um,
Okay.
so I've got a decent amount of stuff sitting in that spot. Like I said, I just got a huge box of discs and I haven't found like my exact PD2. There'll probably be a bunch of comments on this video. The best thing about some of these MVP, like the community is so strong and so awesome, and they like are just hitting me with suggestions left and right. And I'm like, guys, I don't even know what I need yet. All right. I gotta throw what I got and then we'll figure it out. So but that is kind of the thought process I have for going through is like I'm just gonna try to replace specific molds or slots that I had, you know what I mean? Because that's kind of what my game was formed around. MVP has unlimited options for feel and flight of discs. But I'm gonna try to just stick to the stuff that I have. And I've opened up some new shots. Sidearming the tempo has been like one of my favorite things. Because I only had overstable approach discs really that I was sidearming. I had to like beat in a tactic or something, and these are just like great to throw out of the box. So that's been like a shot that I've gained. Um, but for the most part, I'm gonna try to just lock in everything to try to get to a place where my bag was at, and then we can start experimenting to make it all better, I guess.
Are there any slots or flights that you are really, really particular about that maybe you haven't found yet? And if so, what is that slot?
Hmm. I don't know if it's I think it's less about being particular and just about how fine-tuned I was with the discs I had. Like the two FDs that I bagged, the yellow one I'd bagged for years and years, and it was like no one could have thrown that disc like I threw it. And if you asked me to replace it with a Discmania disc, I wouldn't have been able to do it. Like it was a one of one. I was so in tune. Like I knew how to put nose up hyzer flips on it, and it's too flippy to be doing some of the shots I would do, but I put the nose angle up, take some of the speed off of it, and it would, glide differently and stuff. So like I was just real locked in with some stuff like that. So I feel like I've been throwing the Boca and it's unbelievable. It's so good. It
I've
it's
heard.
like it's like the FD, but they put drugs in it. And I don't know what kind or what happened or what kind of drugs, but like it's so fun. And so I think it's more just about like I have the slots, I have the discs. It's just going to be trying to get it to a level of fine tuning where I'm able to do a lot of the stuff that I was doing with the other ones. Because I'm a person who I don't like overlap. I like my disc to be moving, pretty independent. Like I like just less mold. I like doing a lot of things with one disc. So that's the tough part because we have a lot of discs that can do certain things. And I'm gonna have that for a while, and then I'm gonna try to trim it down as much as I can. So we'll see.
I got one last question before I let Perks take over for a little bit. It's no surprise you're a very creative person. You're at a coffee shop. You're going to do some editing on videos. I can tell it's a passion of yours. I've talked to you a little bit about this off camera. Um, my question for you is, do you have a similar situation going on in your career like Madison Walker? So Madison always says, I could quit disc golf and be a marine biologist. That's always waiting for me, but I'm going to keep doing disc golf. Do you feel torn in two directions? Do you feel like there's a career in some sort of like videography waiting for you, or is disc golf full steam ahead for you?
Yeah, I would say I definitely understand the opportunities I could have in that space outside of just my play. Even in the disc golf space. If I just went that direction. Um, but right now, I see them not as battling at all, or as one more appealing than the other. It's disc golf for me right now, and I just really love making videos and telling stories. And um, in the same way that I feel like you can't just like arrive as a disc golfer, like you're never just going to be the, just like perfect or good. Good at, like you can be good, but like how do you get to great? And then like there's always more. It's the same way I feel about editing. Like I can always do better and tell stories better and get better with my software and equipment and stuff. And so that's like it's kind of like a thing that I just love doing. And I also do make some income off of it. So that's cool. Um, but right now, like, I'm at a spot where I'm 22. I love playing disc golf. I love making videos. And I don't know if it's forever. I have no idea. But like I can't dip without a win or two. That's how I feel. So like I also just see the value it has in my life right now as just a 22-year-old who, I mean, I went to the Eagles Wings conference in Florida. I was supposed to come back home, and then I heard I was going to go to Disc East, and so I said, okay. So I just like stay in Florida, go to Sarasota, come back to Tampa, hang out, see my friends, fly to Boston, get trapped there, and it's no problem because I have no other responsibilities. You know what I mean? It was just like I was homesick. I want to see my family, but like I'm kind of free right now. So I'm really trying to give it what I got right now and see what I'm able to get out of it. So I wouldn't say I see it as like a career that's kind of like sitting there waiting for me. I just kind of see it as something that a skill I'm growing right now, but as I'm, trying to get be the best I can be as a disc golfer.
It's a hobby.
It's a little side quest,
Side
Yeah,
and
quest.
side quest.
and people like it, and I love doing it. I really do. Like, um, I mean, in the off season, I'll just try to film a video just so I can edit a video for a long time. Like, I love doing that. So, yeah, it's just a passion for sure.
Well, in this day and age, it's almost a necessity to enable the pursuit of your dreams, right? You have to, be pushing out on social media, be pushing out on YouTube, or you just have to be winning all the tournaments, right?
Yeah.
And at this point, you're essentially, you're young, but you're a veteran when it comes to finding that balance. And I'm curious what your plans are for this season. Do you map it out ahead of time? Like, hey, I'm filming YouTube videos, practice rounds this year. I'm going all in with these guys. We heard you're traveling a bit with Levi Stout this year.
Mhm.
Can you kind of, clarify what your plans are as far as like how you're traveling and how much and what kind of media we should expect from you this year?
Yeah. Yeah, my boy Levi, we're gonna be touring for the time that he's in the States. So he's gonna get here a little late because I think he's playing his nationals tournament over there and he wants to win that, and he definitely should. So but yeah, once he's here, we'll roll with a squad of me, him, my boy Ty Love, some Cal Longquist, Eli Ezra, Matthew Alexander, and his wife Grace. So we're rolling in Airbnbs, and it's gonna be a cool crew. It's like I think there's like two types of crews that you see on tour, like the here to have fun and all business. I think will be a good mix of both, with a good mix of both, with maybe a leaning towards the business. And then yeah, the type of content I do kind of like last year, beginning of last year, I came up with a media plan for myself, all the stuff that I was trying to accomplish. The biggest one being like lifestyle vlogs for each event. So I was able to pull that off. The turnaround's got to be quicker. That's on me, guys. I put a lot of too much effort maybe into them, and so I just like I cannot stomach posting something that I feel like is not excellent, and so and I do it. I just hate it sometimes. Like I'll make an Instagram video. I'm like, this is like lame. I know it's gonna do okay, and I have to post, but this is lame. And so that's the big thing that I want to continue to do, just because it's cool. Like it's cool to look back on some of my events and what my mental was, kind of what my week looked like, and in the good events and in the bad events. Like if you watch the vlog from the preserve, I just putted all the time. I put up more putts that week than I probably ever have. I was just hanging out at my manager's house. He had a drum set and like 40 feet of putting in his basement, and I just go back and forth between those things. And I was just home by myself, so I was just like getting up a lot of reps. And then you look at like like my before my last round of Waco, I did like a little talking head portion. You could just see I was scared. Like it's not gonna go good for this dude. So it's like it's fun to see those things, but that's the thing I'm gonna put a lot of effort into. I want to do some more like maybe MVP focus stuff, some collaborations, some shorter videos, because the other stuff is like I just film my week as I go. You know what I mean, for the vlog. So it's kind of like this natural thing. I'm always just kind of sitting there thinking about how it should look, and I just like film, which can be kind of exhausting. But I don't film everything too. Some of the stuff I just like can't do it. But yeah, so I'm definitely want to do that. I want to have some other YouTube content that comes out that I think will be probably somewhat MVP focused, some maybe not. And then we'll see. Instagram kind of gets thrown on the back burner a little bit, and I feel bad for that because there was a stretch there where I was just putting out heaters. There's just edits, and I haven't had time to be doing that. And I think my creativity has kind of shifted a little bit from more like long form storytelling to just like really hype Instagram stuff, which they both are
Well,
cool, and
where's
I
the
enjoy it all.
future? Where's the future at, Silas? Do you feel like there is even a future in Instagram and disc golf promotion, or does it all kind of lie with YouTube?
I mean, I think the future, YouTube feels more long term. That's where the money is now, you know, as opposed to Instagram. And I feel like that's just where my videos feel like they have more meaning, you know? Like you watch a nice, 28-second clip of me, and there's like 8 transitions that are all fire, and cool catchy song, and then you just keep going, and it doesn't do anything. It kind of gets left behind unless I pin it on my Instagram, and then still gets left behind. But I think like there's more meaning and there's more investment that you can have to kind of like seeing the progression and growth of somebody. And the people like got invested with my year, you know what I mean, watching these vlogs. And so I feel like that part there's more opportunity for impact. And so that's kind of where maybe I see more value right now, and probably more longevity, if that makes sense.
We're talking about being this media powerhouse, this professional disc golfer in this kind of modern landscape. And we've been talking about this on the show this offseason that, who knows when the next $1 million contract is going to happen in disc golf? It might not
Right.
happen for a long, long time, just with the market correction and everything like that. My question for you, it feels like you were kind of coming of age right when those contracts started to get signed. And I want to know when that stuff started to happen, when Paul signed, when Ricky signed, when Simon signed. What were the conversations like? What were the dreaming sessions like amongst you and the rest of your generation coming up?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely had this like cool hope, for like this is what we're doing. For me, I think the biggest thing was I would tell my friends and family or people who were like interested, or I was trying to explain what I do. They're like, you can make a living off of this. And I'm like, bro, you ever heard of Paul Macbeth? Yeah, millions, brother. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, top dogs are getting six figures, millions of dollars. And they're like, oh, snap. So you could really do this. I'm like, yeah, brother. And they're like, well, how close are you to that? And I'm like, oh, trust me, it's probably it'll soon, you know what I mean? I don't know. But so I feel like that was like the big thing for me, was like it gave recognition and clout to, the sport as a whole.
Yeah.
I've never really, I've always said I have an interesting relationship with money because I've never actually had a job. I just done disc golf. And before that,
Same.
like, yeah, it's like, because when you work, like a lot of my family works at Trader Joe's, you work at Trader Joe's, you stack the milk, you make the order, you do whatever, you're very friendly to everybody because that's how Trader Joe's is. And then you understand the money you get paid for the work you put in. Disc golf is performance based, you know what I mean? So like if you do good, yes. But it's not like if you stack the milk badly, no one pays you. You know what I mean? And so that's like it's an interesting type of dynamic. But I've never really been too that stuff hadn't really been too much for me. I don't think about it that much. As long as I'm cool and I can buy if I can thrift the stuff I want to thrift, that's kind of the biggest thing for me.
I'm envisioning being at Trader Joe's and a manager being asked why someone got fired, and they go, couldn't stack the milk right. He
They
kept
weren't
stacking the
posting.
milk wrong.
They had no impact on social media about the milk.
Yeah, his following just wasn't big enough. I couldn't put him at the register.
You
But
can't.
shout out Trader Joe's, by the way. And what you're saying, and I think this is a pretty big deal because you're telling me you're a salesman. That's what you're telling me. The work you put in is what you get out of it. And
Yeah.
when you get paid hourly, you get paid a salary. Like, yeah, there's more room to mess up. Like myself transitioning from being a player into a commentator full time, totally different landscape. I could have a horrible brain foggy weekend on the mic and get the worst comments of all time and have people DMing me 2 weeks later, no one remembers what happened. And I'm
Right.
back on the mic. I could have the best weekend of my life. In disc golf, I feel like it compounds more. At least it did for me. It feels like you miss cash a few weeks, you start to get hurt. It starts to snowball unless you somehow find some big magic orb of confidence or you read
Yeah.
some passage in a book that like gives you a boost of motivation. But yeah, it's just funny. You're telling me I want to work for myself. I want to give people what they want and I want to get paid money for it. I love that. I think that's what I found from touring and disc golf as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a cool dynamic, you know what I mean? But I think it just makes the relationship with money strange, you know? And so yeah, but I enjoy it, and it's I just don't think I get it necessarily for for like how much, your work is valued. Because sometimes, people will be like, what are your rates? You know? And then that's the other thing is like I'm an artist. So then it's like my rates is it could be hourly, but then it's not just hourly. Just because it takes me 2 hours doesn't mean it's not worth more than that, you know? So it's like, yeah, I just don't get it. So as far as the money goes, just as long as I'm not broke, I guess I'm fine.
Hey, fine for now. All good. Life's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, I think when it comes to setting prices, and I'll just be quick on this, I've learned this as well. A lot of times, especially if you're really good at what you do, you could raise your prices. And a lot of times it's just your clientele that changes. It's not like you get any more or less work, especially if you're respected like someone like yourself. You can kind of set what you want to set and kind of play with it from there because you're obviously going to get people asking you to do stuff. I mean, how often do you get requests for just freelance videography these days?
Uh, decent amount, not nothing crazy. I think I ride a weird line that no one else does of like content creator to disc golfer, like um there obviously are people who do it, but they're like either just I'm almost the same at both value wise. Like if you look I mean, I don't know. Simon's a giant on both ends. I'm just like, I value on both ends. So it's tough. Some people just see me as a disc golfer though and won't ask for that stuff, it's not as much as I get probably asked for form advice and coaching. Those
Hmm.
things that I get asked for a decent amount too, which is not a terrible thing. I just don't usually say yes.
Well, how much does MVP see you as, the content creator? I mean, how much of that in your contract are they, putting value on it? How much do they expect you to really be pushing out content for them?
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things about MVP is um, their openness or willingness to just let people be themselves. Like that's their brand. It's just like you show up and we're gonna let you do your thing, and be yourself. So I think they saw, one of the cool things that you know is just like an encouragement was like, I worked really hard to make those vlogs for every event, every pro tour this year. They weren't coming out as soon as I wanted them to. They weren't doing the numbers I wanted them to. Those things kind of work together. If you post them quicker, they get more views. But what I didn't know is that Andrew from MVP was watching all of them, and he was like, "This kid's rad," and he had a good season, and I love these videos. And so they kind of just see that value, but also um, they are very open and like, look, if we want you to play the best you can play, you know what I mean? But this is another part of you that we see, and we want to encourage you in that as well. So I think they're just accepting for who I am, and that's a hybrid of both. And I think they don't put too much emphasis on either one to diminish the other one, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Love that.
I'm going back to the last thing you said.
Okay.
Why don't you do form advice or lessons?
I mean, I have. It's just like uh, I'm a creative, Brian, and I'm not a logistics guy. And sometimes when it just comes into like the act of doing it, I'm cool to get there. But sometimes it's like the scheduling and
I
all
see.
of the other, those things, the logistics kind of get behind the eight ball. It's not something I'm opposed to necessarily. I have done it before, and I think there's a chance that I do some clinics and stuff this year on the road and things like that with some logistical help. But
Well, I want to dive into that deeper because I really respect you as a thrower. I love the way you throw. I love the way you approach throwing. I love the way you talk about throwing. I know you've done tech disc a lot. I've been working very closely with tech disc this year, revamping my own throw. Talk about the development of your throw over time, especially like recently. What are you tweaking these days?
Yeah, so my throw, it's very organic, just like homegrown Louisiana type of throw. That's I don't know. I started playing when I was 6. I started all sidearms, I think, for the first couple of years, maybe a year or two, sidearm putts as well. And then eventually my dad was like, try this. And I was like, all right, no more sidearms. And so then I just started, it took me a long time before I threw sidearms again. But it's just like, I grew up not in the YouTube era. It's crazy. Like you look at Cal Longquist, who has a beautiful backhand, but like he shows up kind of during COVID and he has just all of these resources. And I'm 12 years old. I have no resources. I got deep in the game with Avery Jenkins, you
Yep.
know, and that's fire. Trust me. If you're listening to this and you need some help, just look up deep in the game. Paul Macbeth's got some stuff on there about grip, and there's like some. I think Simon probably makes an
Young
appearance.
Simon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his English is bad. You know, like it's good stuff. So, but that's like my only resource, and I just didn't care about form like at all. I just ripped. And the cool thing is when you're a kid, you just throw as hard as you can every shot. So when I was 14, I went and played my first, it was called Next Gen at the time. It's NADGT now. Had like a crazy performance and almost won. I lost in a 6-hole playoff for a car. And I was 15 or
At
14 at the
Memorial?
time.
Was that
Yeah,
Memorial?
at Fountain
Yeah.
Hills. It was unbelievable, right? And I went back and I had a kid who I was talking to about form, and he's like 12 and he's a genius. And I show him my form from that. And I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? What am I doing wrong? And he was like, look, your reach back is way too high. Your rhythm and cadence is off. Your pump is kind of wonky. And I'm like, yes, 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 yes. Now watch this shot. And it's like hole 8, I think, the second peninsula hole, the par 4, at Fountain Hills. I threw it to the water, all the way, like skipped, crested the hill, skipped down to the water, jump putt approach on the par 4. And I'm like, if form doesn't matter, buddy. All right, I'm ripping them at 14. Like you just gotta throw sometimes, you know. And so my form though was whack, and my reach back I was gaining power high to low, which is a fine way of it. Rick does it. Emerson was really good at it. You can generate power from high to low. It's just not the most accurate with angle control and probably just release in general. So it's not something I ever intentionally fixed. But when COVID hit, I stopped throwing for like 2 months. Unlearned basically everything. Showed up and just ripped putters and mids in a field for like 2 months. Then everything was dandy after that. Just leveled out, clean, good timing. And so from then, it's just been getting kind of simpler and simpler. And I'm a feel guy. I'm not like a real in the weeds guy. I've only ever purposely changed something once a few years
Okay.
ago. My when I had that finger injury after Champions Cup, I came back and I was just like cramming to get reps before tour, and I was practicing a lot of hyzers. And my pump went from pretty direct to slanted because I would pump on the angle I was about to throw on, and I threw a lot of hyzers. Then it got to a place where I'd pump on hyzer and I would get back and then throw an anhyzer. So it's just a lot of movement. And I just kind of was like, man, I don't know why my backhand was A plus. It's like a B now. And I don't know exactly what's going on. And me and Gannon looked at it and we are like, oh, look at your pump. And I'm like, oh. And so it was kind of an easy fix. I just forced myself to pump flat. That's what I do now. It feels good. So right now I've been kind of traveling a lot, haven't been throwing as much. Whenever that happens, I round a little bit and I need to put my reach back a little. I need to fix that a little bit. Usually it takes 2 days or whatever. So, but once I kind of get that figured out, it bothers me. It drives me crazy when I'm in the field. But then, yeah, it just doesn't take that much before it kind of comes back.
So hang on. This is actually brand new information for me because I feel like I've always seen you. You're like the first guy at the Tech Disc booth. You're always getting the stats. I feel like I always see you talking with like Coach Chris Taylor. I feel like I see you rolling with like Overthrow and Nick Crush and
Yeah.
talking to those guys, but you're not a technique guy.
No, I'm the voice of reason to those guys to say, listen, As
Calm
long as your
down.
discs do what you tell them to do, you're good. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter how it looks. Like that's
Yep.
my biggest thing. Because like when you were talking earlier about you felt like you were outperforming guys, your throw is prettier. So real. Almost,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gonna give my list, but everybody's got a list of guys they hate losing to on tour. Okay.
Mhm.
And
I
a
got
lot
one.
of the time, those are the guys who have opposite games to you. Because it's like, how am I losing to this guy? My throw looks better, blah, blah, blah. But it's not about that. Okay. It's about how you score. Can you score? And so like I throw at Texas, I just try to beat the records. I don't even know what they mean. Okay. I people keep asking me like, oh, how fast do you throw? I think I threw over 80 one time.
Wow.
What about your RPMs? I'm like, I think it was a lot. They said I beat the record. I didn't remember what it was. I think it was like, again, I don't want to say it and be wrong, but
1700. You were in the 1700s.
I
Yeah.
was, and I
Yeah.
want to almost say I hit 18, but I could be wrong. I don't know if that's real or not. But yeah, definitely 1700. So like that's the stuff that I just like doing. You know,
Yeah.
I love throwing.
Yeah.
But I understand. It took me a while before I could even teach anybody
I
how to
see.
throw. I just knew my form was good. I didn't know why. You know, and so now I'm at a place where I know better, and I can make small adjustments if I need to. But like I'm really big on cadence in my throw. I'm a drummer. I have great rhythm, and so like, and I was playing with Goose at CCR in A tier this past year, and before he would throw, he would go he would say that out loud, and I was like, what? Why is he doing this? Is this some sort of ritual? Like, what does this mean?
Mm.
And then when he would throw his sidearms,
Timing?
his feet would go. And I was like,
No way.
oh, so that's what he's doing. And I have a very similar thing where I just think 1-2 pop, and 1-2 is the 1-2 with my feet, wait for to feel that reach back hit and then send it, with nothing else. Like, so those are the things I focus on. And I was the best amateur in the nation with some wonky form at 15, or maybe not. I mean, I won a big tournament. Maybe I was top 3, but I'm really kind of big on like, does it work? Do you throw the disc where you want to? You're good. And like when me and Gannon toured together a little bit more often a few years ago, he would always like when he went Idlewild, he was just in shambles. I have a video of him throwing it on hole 17, and the disc goes straight left. He was like lines up the shot in a practice round, straight left out of his hand. Horrible shot. And like he wins that week. And a lot of it is just it's just, are you confident in your throw? He wasn't then. He worked on it. He imagined himself throwing like Gavin Rathbun, which makes no sense. It didn't look anything like him, and he won the tournament. You know what I mean? So like
What?
a lot of it is just like, can it work? Are you making it
Yep.
work? Do the disc do what you want them to? And once you're there, I kind of just disregard a lot of the form stuff.
So
Man,
last
how
thing on this.
interesting.
Last thing on this, I have to say, because this is fascinating stuff. Because this is even as a commentator, I'm learning, just watching people and listening to people talk about disc golf. But I'm learning that release point and, like you said, knowledge of your equipment is at the end of the day the most important thing in the world. And I started learning this as well when I would teach clinics. And obviously, you're teaching like theoretical stuff that like you aim for. You might
Right.
never reach in your life, but just getting your body into a better position is going to make you a better player. But
Yeah.
People always ask about Ricky and Calvin. They're like, well, they don't do what you're saying. The disc is up over their shoulder.
Right.
And the only thing I can say to them is that these guys have been doing it for so long. You see them not change the disc that they throw ever. The molds they throw are never changing.
Yeah.
That's more important. And at the end of the day, like their biomechanics for almost everything else are great.
Yeah.
Their balance is great. But yeah, I think it's great. Your mindset going into this season is fantastic. I can tell. Nate, do you have any other questions for Silas before we let him go?
Yeah, I just love to hear this different philosophy coming from you, Silas, because we spend so much time in disc golf talking about the analytics of the throw. There's been this big rise in like, what is the perfect disc golf throw? How do we throw faster? How do we throw further? We had the Finns on recently, the coach Jonas, and he's diving deep into the throws, and I see them over there. They're inside, they're indoors, and they're just constantly ripping, and Heidi Laine's ripping, and Ida Letomaki is ripping, and I'm like, that's just like one small piece of disc golf, right? I really want to know, like, how do you take yourself out of the analytical mindset and put yourself into the intuitive mindset? And I see players struggle with this out on the tour, right? They spend all this time like trying to perfect the swing, and then they don't realize they're stuck in this analytical state of mind. And really, the intuitive state of mind is where you want to be when you're actually in a tournament, right? You
Yeah.
you don't want to be thinking about where anything's going. And I think what you brought up with Goose is really fascinating, and how you talked about rhythm yourself, because I think that is a way to kind of bridge that gap, right? Because it's still somewhat analytical, because you're giving yourself that count, 1 2 3, but then once you start it, it's just that the rhythm is intuitive to you because you've
Yeah.
repeated it so often, right? And I think that there's other sports that are comparable for that, right? Like Steph Curry is probably not going to be the guy to show you how to shoot a jump shot, right? And he's not thinking about the analytics of his arm when he's taking that pass and putting up the three ball, right? It's just happening.
Yeah.
And so, I don't have any advice for you, except that I love to hear that you stay in that intuitive mindset, even when you're going out to the practice field. I'm like, don't change anything. If it's feeling
Okay.
good, keep running with it. And I think a lot of people can learn from finding the intuitive, especially starting to get into February. It's like, let's put the tech discs down,
Yeah. Lock in.
let's quit ripping into the net, and
Yeah.
let's start meditating or doing whatever we need to do to find that like good headspace to compete from. And then the last thing that I want to kind of recall from earlier in the episode that you brought up, that I think is really important, is what you mentioned about you were in this season, and you things weren't going good, and there wasn't any light at the end of the tunnel, and then all of a sudden you got this one opportunity, and then it kind of opened up, and the book got longer, right? This one page in the book allowed the book to just keep getting bigger. And I think that that's gonna have a good impact on a lot of people that are listening, for maybe some young kids that want to try and pursue this career. They're going to try and put it all out on the line. Like, the amount of opportunities that you give yourself are so important. Like, if you play 10 tournaments, and all 10 are a wash, like maybe the 11th was the one that you needed. And so I think that it's really important for the external circumstances to not determine your confidence level, right?
Yeah.
Like, that confidence level has to be within, right? Because if you're waiting on a good performance to say whether or not you have it, you might not give yourself enough chances. So I think that what you've been able to do by pushing through that discomfort, and building a career for yourself, I think it's very inspirational. And it was great to have you on the show to be able to share some of that inspiration with the people that are listening out there.
Yeah. I appreciate you guys having me on. Let me tell my story. It is, I mean, perseverance is an amazing thing. I got through that, I went on tour the next year. Then it was like, had a bunch of hard times after that too. You know what I mean? And so like it's gonna happen. I think it's just about just trying to get better, and step by step. I wanted to you can't become a great putter immediately. That was something that was a process for me. I think a lot of it is just focusing on the things that you can improve, and that's where I'm at with my form. I trust my backhand. I have a lot of faith in my backhand. If it's not perfect right now, it probably will be tomorrow, like that's just kind of how I see it. So that's not something I worry about working on aggressively. That's one of my top weapons. Let's worry about sidearm approaches, sidearm in general, scoring the basketball. You know what I mean? That's what we have to do. That's what it comes down to, is like getting that disc in the basket in the least amount of shots. And like that's why I don't worry about form, is because I trust it, but I worry about, my circle twos. I worry about my approach game, because some of those that's how you get the edge, so that's what I would just say is like, you know, my biggest advice would be, remove the expectations and just focus on your wins being the things that you can accomplish. Did you eat the right food beforehand? Did you get good sleep? Did you practice well beforehand? Did you have a good game plan? Did you stick to your game plan and you shot bad? Well, if you do all that tomorrow, you committed to all your shots too? Yeah, no, you're going to shred tomorrow. Like, that's just how it works. And sometimes you do all that stuff and it doesn't work. But I just try to focus on the little things that I can control and improve on those, and hopefully, eventually we take down Gannon a few times. Like,
Yeah,
hopefully,
the dub's
but that's
coming,
not right
man.
now. Maybe,
Which
who
event
knows?
is it? If there's an event, so you mentioned Champions Cup, you walked up to every single tee out there at WR Jackson. You were feeling it. You were hitting the FD like none other. And which event, when you think about the 26 schedule, what course are you going to be walking up to every tee pad ready to rip?
I think the two courses pop up. Number one is Northwoods Black, or whatever we play in Eureka. I don't know if it's Wood or Woods. I think it's Wood, maybe. Um,
Northwood.
Wood, yeah. And if it's Black or Gold, or I don't know what it is. But that course, I had, I think, my best round ever last year on that course. So I shot a 9 down. I mean,
Wild.
it was like 10:30 or whatever. It was like horrible ratings,
Like
but
everyone was
it
going
was higher
off.
than 10:30.
I
But
remember
like,
that.
uh that course like forces focus. Like, you have to be completely focused. And so that's a course that, like, if you're not ready and excited to throw some tee shots and locked in, you're going to get eaten alive. So that's one that I bring a higher level of focus, because that's kind of what's required out there. But the one that I want to play the best at is the Big Easy Open. I want to win that tournament so
Yeah.
bad. I like, and for a lot of reasons, but just the one tournament, like, a brief history on Louisiana disc golf. We didn't have PDGA for most of the time I was growing up. We had Southern Nationals, which is a sanctioning that was made by Mattio's dad. It's like PDGA, but with no rules about, like, dress code or substance consumption. Pretty much good on all of those. Like, you didn't have to wear a shirt. You could smoke whatever you wanted. It was fine. And so we, like, looked down on the PDGA having a membership. Like, that was just not, that was corny to us, because we play Southern Nationals. And the Southern Nationals has died. But just to come from that to a state that's only ever had 2 A tiers in its history, to now having a Pro Tour Elite Series, is just monumental. And so, like, that's something I would love to win. Like I said, no expectations or anything. I don't know where my bag's going to be at that point, even if I'll be locked in enough. But those are the two that come to mind. If I could pick one, I would pick that one to win.
Last question. How is the course looking? I'm so excited to see it on camera.
Okay, I don't know if y'all know the history, but here's the history. The parish had a lot of money that if they didn't spend it, they were going to lose it. And so they poured millions of dollars into draining a swamp, hiring John Hawk to come design a course. They brought in dirt and grass, and there's still a lot of animals and creatures from the swamp who remain on the course. I think they got rid of the alligators on 18. That's what I heard, but they were still
What?
there. But when we played the A-tier pot of gold last year, there was alligators on 18. We saw a, like, 5-foot rattlesnake that was huge. But I think they're removing some of this stuff. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I think it should be fine. But they're redesigning the course for this event. So I went out with John Hawk and had some input and stuff, and the course is going to be really cool. But the scenery is probably what people imagine Louisiana looks like, but it
Yeah.
doesn't actually look like this. But it's beautiful, and you're playing in an abandoned swamp, or a vacated swamp or whatever, but they have, like, these huge cypress trees with exposed knees and
So
roots
cool.
that go up to 3 or 4 feet. It is unbelievable. So gorgeous. They're putting in so much work out there. So much. To the point, like, me and him were critiquing this hole, and I'm like, this anhyzer's too tight. The landing zone is hard to get to, and the upshot from there is too hard to make this drive this hard. And he's like, all right, you think we take out these trees? I'm like, I think so. He spray paints them. We go look at the next hole. We come back, both the trees are knocked down. It was like
Wow.
that. Like, they don't mess around out there. So I'm excited. Hopefully by then, there are some things that they want to do that they don't have time to do. But I mean, dug a lake or a little pond for a green, and then they moved it because it was in the wrong spot. Like that's the like I don't even know how you move a pond, but they did. And so like they're really putting as much effort into this as they can, and
Cool.
I think it's going to be really special.
Can't wait to see it.
Well, Silas, thank you so much for your time, my friend. It was a joy, and never hesitate to come back on if you have any other news you want to share with the rest of the disc golf world.
All right.
Anything else you want to say to the people before we let you go?
Man, I don't know. I think I've said a lot, but I'm excited for this year. I'm super excited for MVP and the opportunities they're giving me this year. So stay on the lookout for some of those. We're gonna have some merchandise and stuff. If you want to follow my
what
journey.
disc? What disc is your name going to be on?
I don't know. I can't announce
you gotta
it.
decide.
I actually don't even know it, so I couldn't announce it if I wanted to. But we're gonna have some cool stuff, and maybe a new sponsorship announcement too. Another like a retail maybe. So we're gonna have some cool stuff in the works. If you want to follow that, just head over to my YouTube, click a subscribe, and then I'm on Instagram and stuff too. But yeah, that's all I got.
Well, folks, there you go. Silas Schultz. Bye. See ya. Episode's over.
Bye, guys.
Later. Sign off. All done.
Sayonara.
Sayonara.
Sayonanda.
Au revoir.